Hi, this is Chris Sun. I'm the host of the Amplify Speakers podcast, and I'm extremely excited today, live in the studio with Alex Weber. Alex, for those who don't already know who he was not only a host on American Ninja Warrior, but you were also asked to compete and actually compete on American Ninja Warrior. He's a best-selling author of Fail Proof, Becoming an Unstoppable You, a national U.S. Lacrosse Coach of the Year, and is now asked to speak on stages all over the world, doing almost over 100 speeches a year, which is absolutely incredible. So, welcome, Alex.
Chris, thank you so much, brother. And you rocked that intro. My goodness. Thanks, man.
It's pretty easy to rock that intro with what you've already accomplished, to say the least. I love to start out. Tell a little bit about your history, starting off with going from a lacrosse coaching,
Yeah.
and then into the TD.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's, I'm laughing because I'm like, how far back, we can go back. I do share this journey with audiences because, I grew up as a bullied kid in a small town, and lacrosse came into my life, and it was this sport that was popular in our town, but it was just this thing I did. And then there was this amazing coach, Paul Carcaterra, and other coaches in that area who basically, I say they gave me a dream because I, just like anybody, was kind of aimless, going through the motions, and they put me on a track and said, this could be something. And I was obsessed with it. I was an All-American. I played 4 years of Division I college lacrosse, but really one of the most pivotal moments was when I got there. I just put so much pressure on myself that I was starting, I was, in the positions, but anytime I would make little mistakes, I would just beat myself up so much. And really what happened was I quit on myself. I think this happens in our lives. You know that there's this greater version of you that's right here, but it requires you taking some chances, taking some leaps of faith. And rather than doing that, I held myself back into what felt comfortable and familiar and safe. And the tragic thing about that is that's where it's dangerous. I got benched. It really crushed me. I got distant with my friends. I joked the girl I was dating, we broke up. She broke up with me if you're splitting hairs. But it really, to this day, is something where I have deep regret and heartbreak. Why I say that is when I graduated, my dream was to was to get into entertainment. After college lacrosse, I said, you know what? I always loved entertainment. Let me go after this. And when I got to LA, my side job just to pay the bills was going to be coaching high school lacrosse, but I fell in love with it. And I often share this now with leaders. What was so powerful was I could see myself now in the 17, 18-year-olds when they were questioning themselves, they were going into doubt. I could see literally me in college lacrosse going into all that negativity. And as leaders, that's such a powerful gift when you can start to, well, it's empathy, see your humanity within someone else. And, that was such a powerful thing, not just for me, but for them. And the school had never won a playoff game. And my first year being the head coach, we won the Los Angeles championship and the kids won awards. And that's when I was fortunate to win U.S. Lacrosse Coach of the Year. So, I also share with groups that these challenges that we go through, for me, quitting on myself in college lacrosse, they plant seeds for rewards later on. If you cultivate them, there is power and purpose in it.
I love that message. So you took your own, feelings of maybe not feeling like you were capable in that moment.
Yeah.
And then recognize that now you have players you're coaching that maybe are having some of those similar feelings,
completely
holding themselves back. And we're able to use that to show them what
Yeah.
they can do.
Yeah.
You know, if you are going to give a coach today
Yeah.
some of your best advice, what would that look like?
Oh man, you're gonna get me fired up here. There is the execution, and then there's the culture. And I've played for and been around coaches who might be one or the other, but I think the really phenomenal coaches and leaders are the ones who not only know the execution, you got to know your stuff in leading anything, the X's and O's and the strategies and the credibility and the craft of this sport or business. But then the people who know the culture and just really love their players, love their employees, love the work that they do, that's when the obsession piece becomes a byproduct, because you just love this. Like Coach Signetti, Indiana University, now national championship 16-0. He loves this. He loves this. And so it's not difficult to go and watch film. It's not difficult to have team meetings because you love it. And so I would just say that is, falling in love with the sport, with your people, with what you're doing. And then the other is that you set the tone no matter what you're doing. And I think that sometimes as coaches, as leaders, we can feel like, oh, it's a big meet. It's we're doing our all hands meeting and we're sharing with everyone. And that's when the people are going to perceive and receive the leader. But it's not. It's how they, when they're not even talking to you, but they see you from across the room, how you interact with someone else, or how they hear you speaking about someone or gossiping or saying negativity. So it's these micro moments. And the more that we are authentic, fair, and consistent, the more buy-in we'll get.
Oh, that is some great advice there. So I think, a lot of people want to say, let's go in coaching. It's what you say in that huddle, or what are you saying during halftime? More often than not, it's coaching.
100%.
It's everything you do reading up to that.
100%.
And if done right, you really don't have to say too much other than some little adjustments here and
there. 100%, and I get chills with this, but it's a player or an employee is providing a deliverable. Absolutely. You have an output that you're hitting. If I was an attackman, I'm responsible for this number of goals a game. But we know when we're being viewed as a deliverable. And when we are, it feels like we are very dismissible, replaceable. We're a commodity. And I think some of the most powerful moments are, and I try to communicate to my players, is I love you and I want the best for you. If that is playing lacrosse, awesome. We're going to rock it. We're going to win. We're going to do great things. If that's not, and there's other things you want to do, that's awesome. And I want to support you in that. And not just saying it, but truly doing that and believing it, because there are moments where we have to focus on the output. Absolutely. But I think, again, that becomes this beautiful byproduct if the individual knows that they care and they matter.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't think there's anything more powerful to give somebody than value and appreciation.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That is like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
And shouldn't be used like not genuinely, right?
Yeah.
But when used right, or in your case, you genuinely care about them, you want the best for them, and now you're helping them realize like you probably can do more than maybe you realize.
100%.
You're gonna get the best out of those people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, and to not underestimate, people want to matter, and people do matter, but letting them know that, and because coaching, some of what I'm talking about right now, there's an emotional tone which is warm. And it's not always warm if you're in a tie game and someone just screwed up and people are yelling and, it doesn't always have that warm and fuzzy feel. However, you can go to someone and say, we need you now to go and do this without exception. and do it now. But if you trace all that back, it's still coming from, we care about you. You see this team, we need you. You matter here. So that's where I just think if you build a foundation of trust, of care, of a personal human bond with people, then all the things that we go do, whatever those are, they're coming from this foundational place rather than this top down kind of pointing fingers.
Yes.
So
that's great advice for a lot of us to realize that we can't expect much at the top or to ask if we're not starting with building that foundation. Do you miss coaching?
Yeah. Now
about like I kind of want to go back and do some coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm missing it more now that we're talking about it so much. I'm still such a geek with sports. I watch every lacrosse game. I watch tennis. I watch Ninja Warrior. I love the human element of sports. You know, we're recording in March. It's March Madness, and I'm showing my wife. I'm like, you know, these last minutes, like some of these college athletes are going to realize their dream, and some of these college athletes' careers going to be ending in heartbreak. And you know, there's just, we as people, you rarely get such high octane concentration of real life emotions in day-to-day life. That's why I love sports. I think, you know, if it's in God's plan for my life, my wife's life, later on in life, yeah, I would love to coach. I would love to coach. I think I had so much fun doing it, but you know, I guess it kind of naturally goes to the entertainment piece. I had coached, and thought, you know, is this what I want to do? We won championships and maybe I'll be a coach as my career. But that voice in me of, you know, your dream was to get an entertainment. That's why you moved out here. That's what you really want. And so I left coaching. I made that honest, you know, internal decision. No, this is what I want to go after. I want to go after entertainment. And it was 1 year later that I got hired by NBC for American Ninja Warrior. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, you know, you get the call, you get hired for American Ninja Warrior. Tell us, I mean, what was that like to go from what you were doing into that?
Surreal. I am so grateful. NBC, American Ninja Warrior, everyone who put that on absolutely changed my life. And, you know, there's so many stories it wasn't turnkey. I first was doing acting because that's kind of what at least I grew up in the Northeast. Like no one did entertainment. So I was like, I guess I'll be an actor. And I was not good at it. And then a friend was doing hosting. And it was kind of this moment of, and I say, you know, it's so important, our community, because they can give you a dream, just like my coaches gave me a dream. And I was like, oh, right, hosting, that's a thing. I just wasn't even like, that's a thing. And I went to this casting director workshop. I'll never forget it. And the wonderful lady there, the casting director, she said, I'll make an introduction to you to an agent. And this in entertainment, that's a gatekeeper. And I went to the agent's office and he said, I remember this, he said, I just don't see it. It's really hard out there. I just don't think it's going to work out. And I was crushed. And I'm in the elevator and I go down to the parking lot and I'm in my car and I'm heartbroken. And I'm like, oh, you know what? He just doesn't see it yet. So let's show him. And I went around and I hired a videographer and I just went around Los Angeles and I just filmed all these TV shows, fake shows, as if I was hosting them. And I put it all together and I gave it to him. And he's like, oh, okay. And he started putting me out for auditions and I got an FX series and he pitched me. And then I got hired by NBC with American Ninja Warrior. And so I share with people don't see it until they see it. And if you have people who see potential within you, that's a gift. But even if people don't, that doesn't mean it's not there. We just have to act on it.
Yeah, I love it. You shared one going through that, having somebody tell you that for something that, hey, you moved out there, you have a dream. But you also touched on there was a lot that led up to that. You didn't just all of
Yeah.
a sudden, hey, I'm on this TV show. There's a lot of work that people probably don't understand behind the scenes. Care to talk a little bit about like how much work are we talking about? How many classes or studying did you do?
Oh, for the
Thing.
well, it's funny, I'm going to butcher this quote, but a fish will always be called an idiot when asked to climb a tree. And it sounds silly, but I think about that quote often because if you are placed in the wrong path or the wrong position, it's always going to be tough and it's never going to work out for you. But I think about if you put a racehorse pretty much anywhere except for on a track, then the racehorse is a racehorse and it's a stud. But if you put it anywhere else, it's kind of dangerous or a hazard or not good. So we got to make sure that we're on the right track. And I say that because acting, I did some things and I was okay, but it wasn't me. I wasn't good at it. But then hosting, it was kind of like, oh, I'm like a racehorse on a track. I'm good at this. I like this. It actually brought up when I was coaching, I'd have to be like, all right, guys, here's what we're doing today. And then I'm hosting a game show and I'm like, hey, everybody, here's what we're doing today. It was kind of called on my past chapters, And yeah, so I did do some classes and some different things. I'm not the biggest person on classes and credentials and certificates. Do you care about this kind of guy? Are you busting your butt about this kind of guy? And if you are, we're going to see it. And I get worked up with this. I say in my book, there's no such thing as experts. And I don't care where people went to college. I don't care the fancy logo on the certificate. I share, there was plenty of doctors with really beautiful logos from impressive places that missed my mom's cancer. So there's no such thing as experts. There are people who give a dang and they show up every day and they bust their butt and they care about everyone they touch. And then there's people who don't. And so when bringing it all the way back, the hosting, I really loved it. And I had a meeting with the NBC and American Ninja Warrior team, and they're just awesome people. And they welcomed me in to host this new series with American Ninja Warrior. And it was literally getting pulled up from, like, I'd done things in, like minor league, D league. And then you're like pulled up to the Yankees. And it was like, I would just kind of tell myself, just play it cool. Just play it cool. Cause like you get onto the lot and, I'm like, oh, I have a badge and like I'm going onto the NBC lot and you're walking in and then you get there and you're like, everything's just big and there's lights and you're seeing people that you recognize from the show. And yeah, there was just so many growth moments of you're in it. So, show up and do it, you're in it. But hosting it for so many reasons was transformative and then competing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like when they told you, hey, we actually want to see you do some of this and all the way into not just try it, but compete in it?
It originally, and it's a creative world, right? So ideas are evolving, and it originally started out as this kind of like funny joke that I would try the obstacles, I'd fail. Whether I was trying or not, I would fail. And, it'd be kind of like a goofy joke because everything is so difficult. And we did that, but as it kind of progressed and the show got a little bit more intense, not serious, but more elevated, the fail joke, it outgrew. And so then it became, hey, if you're going to be talking about these obstacles and showing them off, it makes a whole lot more sense for the host to actually know about this sport. You watch any other thing, you got Tom Brady hosting for the NFL. Tom Brady was pretty good at football, So the only thing was Tom Brady had played football, then hosted. I was hosting and then had to do this sport. And, there's so many lessons there. One of them was I'd played Division I athletics, but I had to start again as a beginner. I played D1 lacrosse. I was an All-American. I won U.S. Lacrosse Coach of the Year. I was at a mountaintop in this one sport, and then I had to go over here and start back down at base camp as a beginner. And there was a lot of emotional pain and physical pain because the sport is intense, but I would get so embarrassed, and I wanted the competitors. I remember my first times going to the gym, I would obsess over what the competitors might be thinking about me because I wanted them to see me as an athlete. But it was ultimately without the community support. And I say often, your next level isn't alone. It just isn't. Wherever you're trying to get to, we need other people supporting and challenging us. And it was because of the competitors inviting me to train. Even when we'd train, they'd say, hey, get up there. It's your time. Get up there again. Well, you fell again. Get up there again. Without that, I wouldn't have kept going. I wouldn't have. So, so grateful to be asked to do it by the show, to be invited to do it, and then the community to support me in it. Yeah.
Were there times when you're trying and you just want to be like, I can't do this. This is too much. I mean, those obstacles are insane. And there's gymnasts that you watch compete, and sports that definitely relate a little bit more to it. And you watch them not get very far. So what was that like?
Well, there's so many levels of, it sounds silly, but aside from maybe hanging on a pull-up bar, I never really ever had my feet off the ground in any sport I've ever done, ever. And so some of it was mentally getting used to this foreign thing that was asked of you. So just getting used to like grabbing on things and flying around and what that's like. And it's funny, you'd film your training so you could watch it back and, I'm sure post on social media and all that stuff, but you'd film going through the obstacles. And there's a really interesting thing that I saw happening where when I started doing the sport, I would fail, I'd fail. But after weeks of just showing up, I'd meet up with the athletes 3 times a week, go to the Ninja Warrior gyms and do it. Fast forward 3, 4, 5 weeks, I'd film it. And I physically was starting to get it. And other athletes pointed this out in the film, and they're like, you're dropping here, but you now have the strength and ability to get there. And what it meant was my mind had gotten so used to failing at a certain point, quitting, ending, that I had to retrain my mind that no, we're different now. We actually are stronger now. We actually have more abilities. We don't suck right now. So you need to now be open to that you're actually better than where our mind is holding us back to. So, there's just so many lessons with it. I think one of the biggest that I still take to heart today, and I get so fired up with it in our AI culture and hacks, just show up and do it. Just show up and do it. If it's gritty, if it's imperfect, if it's messy, that's fine. There is no substitute for compounding effort. And I am such a believer in the people who show up and just do that. I think in these next years, we're going to see this chasm, this big gap between people who are still trying to figure it out and people who are trying to look for every easy hack in life.
Yeah, that is great advice. And unfortunately, AI, amongst other things, just make it easier.
100%.
But you touched on it multiple times that people put up kind of their own ceiling.
Yeah.
Like comfort ceiling above themselves.
Yeah.
We go, I can't do this. I'm not cut out to do this. and you talked a lot about the support of others. Is there
Yeah.
anyone that sticks out to you that's kind of got you like, that was the person, or these people that got me to maybe realize I could do more, push me
That's so
past
good.
where, I thought I could go.
That's so good. I mean, my mind, and like, what a blessing. My mind is flooding with how many of the American Ninja Warriors support it. A few that I just feel called to like call out. One is Jesse Graff, who is arguably the most iconic Ninja Warrior, and also very kind and very open. And as I was trying to get good, invited me to go and train at different gyms and taught me. And she has a gym in her home, and so invited me to that. Wes Silvestri, who he was just so consistent. He would reach out to me, "Hey, buddy, we're training. You're there. Hey, just wanted you to know we're training. You're there. You're coming." And not even just that, but on the day when I was there, like, "Alex, you're up next. You're up next. Nope, you're not thirsty. Don't go to that water fountain. You're up next." Just that's where I really, that accountability, you'll hear sometimes accountability is love, and it really is. People who want and even demand the best of you, if it's coming, again, we talked about coaching and leading, if it's coming from that foundational care, it's so good because it gets us out of our own way. Two others that I'll just cite, Flip Rodriguez. So this is, I call them credible encouragers, but basically what it means is when someone you admire speaks life into you or belief, because it's one thing, and listen, Mom, you're probably watching this because you're so supportive. If your mom believes in you, that's amazing, but it's also your mom, and she's always going to believe in you, and thank you for that. I don't take it for granted. But if there's someone that you admire doing this, in speaking, it's when speakers I admire will say kind things, or an author, or I was training as a goofy host, but I was really training, and Flip Rodriguez, who's top badass, he's a badass American Ninja Warrior, said, "You could do this. You could compete." I remember that because it was this paradigm shift for me. I was like, you really do this, and you nail it, and you think I could do this. And I had to sit with that for a minute. So that was another one where it's just so powerful when someone that you admire can speak life into you. And so often leaders and these people in these positions of authority can do that.
Yeah, that's probably maybe one of the greatest gifts or impacts somebody can do.
100%.
And when you think about it, it's really simple.
Yeah,
it doesn't
absolutely.
take much other than being intentional.
Yeah. You're so right. And you nailed it with being intentional. And the enemy of intentionality is busyness, right? And I don't think it would be for a lack of desire that a leader wouldn't speak life or belief into someone. I think it would be out of a lack of time and not having that space to hone in on someone and do it. But as we're saying, it's like everything that we're focusing on comes from that.
Yeah. You go back to, whatever you're hoping or wanting to accomplish, it starts with the accountability. It's my favorite one, with love.
Yeah.
Is right.
Yeah.
Because, I compare, a lot of times I'll talk to leaders I work with and I'll compare it to parenting. And I'll say, man, my kids, I have to tell them things they need to hear.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of times I don't even want to say it, to be honest.
Sure.
I don't want to have to come down on you, and I don't want to have to tell you what I'm gonna have to tell you, but you need to hear it.
Yeah.
And I say it because I love them, and no matter, they could do some really awful. It'd be easy. The easy thing would be like, I'm gonna ship my kid off.
Sure.
We never do that, right? You're gonna go, no, I'm gonna work with them. I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
Look at this behavior. Translate that into work, though. that employee isn't really doing what they want to do. I'm just gonna let him go.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
step. It's just easier to do
Yeah.
that. But if you cared about him,
Yeah.
really cared about him,
Yeah.
then that's not the right step, is it? You'd
100%.
say the hard things.
Yeah.
You would make sure they know you care about it, but then also say, "Got to fix that behavior, though."
Yes. Yes. And you nailed it. The fix the behavior, and there has to be a matching effort, right? And there has to be you have to step into this, and I had those conversations when I was a coach with, I call them a here's the deal talk. Here's the deal. Like, I'm here for you. We're going to, we'll do all the stuff that you and I talked about. We're going to coach you up. We're going to care about you. We're going to give you the opportunities, all that. But we also need this from you. And that's your choice. And I'm such a free will guy. That's your choice. And I think giving people, employees or people that we're working with, that choice, because there's ownership, and it fights off victim or entitled. It lets us know, okay, this person needs to meet us here. And if they do, we're going to walk with them and encourage them. But because apathy is definitely rampant, kind of just in our society. I think there's we get pinged and dinged with so many things that are negative or concerning every single day. And so just connecting with our team members on that level of, hey, that is there, but this track that we're on is something good together, I think is just so powerful.
Completely agree with that. There's one thing you brought up as you're talking through all the people important to you. Before we kind of wrap things up, I know you mentioned your mom, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, is going to support you. Watch in,
Yeah.
and always say you can do anything, you put your mind to.
Yeah.
With that, I know your mom's played an even more important route in the person you are today. And do you want to maybe just share a little bit of like that support from mom and how, she's really guided you to where you are?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a specific journey which I'll share on that has happened with my mom. But really both my parents in different ways, both so supportive, truly. They show it in different ways, but so supportive. I think maybe it's just the mom feminine is maybe a little more warm and fuzzy, but my dad always such a strong believer and so much support. Like, I can't think of a hockey or lacrosse game, let alone practice, that he wouldn't want to be at and there and supporting, and I think one of the greatest lessons that I've gotten from both, like the Venn diagram of my mom and my dad, is just give it everything you have. Like, anything you're going to do it with all of your heart, do it with all of your ability, and both of them in such different ways. Anything that they've ever done, from work to making a meal to going on a vacation with loved ones to a workout, is just with every fiber of their being. And I'm very grateful to have that lesson and something dear to me. And my mom, such a supporter, of course, of anything I'm up to. And a few years ago, I'd had this idea of she loves walks. So us going on the best hikes in America. It was this fun idea. But right before we were about to go, she got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And so instead of going on the hiking trip, the next years were treatment beds and doctor's offices. And something that I learned through that, and then I also saw it, and I share with audiences because it's why pro sports teams win after tragedies. It's why companies who serve people rally and reach these amazing levels. It's when other people need your best, that's when you become your best. And so being there to support my mom and what she was going through, she also supported me in American Ninja Warrior, and it culminated with her getting to be the guest of honor for one of my American Ninja Warrior runs. And then 2 years after her diagnosis, because she had just been so committed with her treatments, we were able to go on the hike that we first wanted to do. And seeing her determination, we went to this hike in Maine. It's called the Beehive. And there's some sketchy parts. You got to like come up some railings. There's like a rock cliff. We got to it. I'm like, Mom, this is like a real deal. This isn't like a G-rated. Like this is a real deal hike. And I tried to like backpedal us of why don't we go on Bunny Mountain over here? Like we don't have to do this. And I saw it in her that I need to do it. And it was so moving and so beautiful seeing her like jackrabbit up this thing and get to the top. And yeah.
That's absolutely incredible.
Thanks, man.
How lucky are you, to say the least?
Thanks, brother.
I feel bad because we're gonna have to wrap this up. Really don't want to. But as you were talking about that, I want to tie one little piece as we kind of tie a bow on this. You've done so much already, and that you're so young. What if you're going to look at and come back and say, hey, this is what I want people to say my story is, my bio is. Oof. 10 years from now, what would you say? What do you want that to say?
I'll say to truly, truly admit to themselves what they really want, honor it, and become it. And as someone who's quit on my life, I think I quit on myself a few times in my life. I have a very strong passion and purpose for people never to quit on themselves. And anything that's important to them, anyone who's important to them, any goal that's important to them, to fully, fully give everything they have to it, and that they can do it.
I love that. That's a great message to close out on. So, one, thank you, to say the least, for being guests on here. And for those of you listening, I'm going to drop a link for Ox's website, along with his profile page and his LinkedIn as well. Definitely go check them all out. Along with, I'll put a link for his book as well, so you can go check out Fail Proof. So, thanks, Alex.
Chris.
Appreciate you being on.
Thank you, bro. This was great.
Absolutely.